Hey, everybody, it's Scott Steen with the winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the Hump Day edition of Today in Sports Betting. And today, got a little different schedule. We're going to take a look at the NASCAR race. It's going to be in Kansas, right by my stomping grounds here in Kansas City. And that'll be on Thursday night. So who better to take a look at that than a couple of our favorite NASCAR guys? First of all, he's my co-host, the right-hand chair. He comes from that hotbed of NASCAR activity up there in Long Island, New York. He is Scott Reichel. Scott, what's up, buddy?
Nothing much. Still looking forward to baseball being one day away officially. And as a Yankees fan, it's nice to get to see some pinstripes on the field every now and then. I know they've had some exhibition games. Doesn't have the same luster. I've watched a little bit of it, but of course it's not the same as actual competition. Other than that, nice, perfect timing for NASCAR to have a race on Thursday night in the middle of opening day. So I'm sure the ratings are going to take no plummet whatsoever from that.
I got to be honest with you. After watching the Royals game yesterday against the Astros when they gave up, I think, 16 or whatever it was, I've seen enough Royals baseball this year.
I'm kind of surprised, though, that the Royals struggled because they have the same amount of attendance right now that they did the entire last year. So I really thought they'd be right at home.
So funny that they had the guys, instead of sitting in the dugout, they were sitting like in the killer seats right behind home plate. Everybody was socially distanced, wearing a mask in their uniform. It was kind of weird to see. So
it was better seeing actual people than paper cutouts of people in the front seat.
Good times. But we're not just you and I today, Scott. We're joined by a third, and he actually does reside in the hotbed of NASCAR activity down there in Clarksdale, Mississippi. He is the one, the only winning Willy Mormon. Willy, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, guys? It's a pleasure to be back. Thanks for having me. Back at where are we? Kansas this weekend. Another one of these, as you call them, cookie cutters. And I'm not another track that I'm not a big fan of, but
Nope.
But it should be another boring race, so to speak. But it's racing. It
is racing. Another mile and a half tri-oval. And yeah, it's we're gonna take a look. It's a very similar racetrack to what they ran in Kentucky last week. Very similar to Chicago and Dallas, which they ran the 2 weeks. So we really had three weeks in a row of these terrible tracks. So we've had Kentucky, then we had Texas, and then we have Kansas. So let's get started. But before I do, and I know Scott and I talked about it on our Monday show, so we're not going to spend a lot of time recapping. But we haven't had Willy aboard to talk a little bit about the Winners and Whiners Cup standings. And, it's the race has gotten a little tighter, gentlemen, as Scott now holds a 13-point lead over a winning Willy, and I have closed the gap with a good performance on the weekend to just 40 points behind Scott. So, it's tightened up, as yours truly predicted. And we've got how many races to the playoffs? 8 races to the playoffs. So we're coming down to it, boys. We're getting there. So
are we stopping at the playoffs, or are we just going to go all the way through?
All the way through, my friend.
That's what I thought. So it's 8 until the playoffs, but then you have the playoffs. So yeah, we still got a long way to go in this.
Playoffs?
Talk about the playoffs? You kidding me?
Playoffs?
I just hope we can win a game. Shout out to Jim Moore.
There you go. And so yeah, we go to Kansas. Very similar track. We'll see if the success that our regular drivers at these intermediate tracks, if that carries over to the Kansas Speedway. And Willy, anything you want to say about the last week's performance, Willy? Because Scott and I have kind of talked about it, but we haven't given you a chance. Any laments that you have, as you had. You had Harvick. We all rode Harvick. You had your Kyle Busch, who ended up finishing okay for you, and Jimmy Johnson, who was just never a factor, and then got kind of spun out by himself. Something you don't see him do very often.
Yeah, it was a pretty ugly week for me, but I guess I gained ground in the competition, so I guess that's the positive I can take from it. It would have been nice to have had an Austin Dillon ticket. I'm pretty sure he had a pretty nice ticket behind, pretty nice payday behind him.
Yeah, if you had Cole Custer and Austin Dillon on back-to-back weeks, you'd have been doing just fine. It really when the leaders drivers finished 29th and 26th, which is what Truex and Johnson did for Scott. Yeah, it's a good time to make up some ground. And
I'm just happy they finished in the 20s. I thought they were going to finish in the the high 30s at one point. So, yeah, could have been worse. But I think that was by far, based on the total score, my worst race. But it happens when two of your drivers just crash, and it is what it is. I'll try to bounce back.
All right, well, let's see what happens this week. We're going to get started as we always do with our 3 picks to click as far as our straight up bets, and then we'll get into our props a little bit. Willie, kick us off, bud. Who do you have as your favorite?
Well, let's get the obvious one out the way. It seems like we're all taking him these days. Kevin Harvick, 4-1 at DraftKings. This is another track that he's been pretty successful on, not only in the past, but recent years as well. He's got 3 wins here in his career. He's got 8 top 5s, 15 top 10s. And he's driving like a maniac this year. So, just bet Kevin Harvick. It's the safest bet you can bet.
Yeah, he is catching him at 4-1. I'm not in love with that number, but he is certainly really head and shoulders had the most consistent season of anybody this year. So we've got you down for Kevin Harvick at 4-1 is what you're seeing.
Do you know where you found that, Willie? Is that on DraftKings?
Yeah, DraftKings.
Okay, so I'm trying to see if I could find a better line for you. I see plus 420 on FanDuel. I'm waiting for Fox Bet to load. I see Harvick at plus 475 on Fox Bet.
Oh, there you go. All right.
The beauty of shopping around.
Who's your top pick, bud?
So I'm going to do something that I haven't done in a while, and it's might come as a shock. I'm not taking Kevin Harvick, which is, crazy because I seem to take him every week. But I don't know. Something about the last couple of races, Harvick has ran pretty well. I never really thought he was a threat to win any of the last couple of races. I guess the Custer one, he was winning on the restart, but I didn't think he had the best car at any point. I thought Truex had the best car that weekend. And last week, his car really was pretty tight, and he kept complaining about it throughout the entire race.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. For that number and the fact that Harvick hasn't won each of the last 2 mile-and-a-halves, I'm going to pass and try to find value elsewhere. I just think that 4.75 to 1 is a little bit too low for me to go to the bank with. So my first pick is actually going to be somebody who won the All-Star race, and it's going to be Chase Elliott. And I like him at 6.5 to 1 on DraftKings, but that line's pretty much available market-wide. He won this race once before, so he has experience here. He has run well on the mile-and-a-half so far this season, and he's also finished top 4 in each of his last 3 races here. So he's been really good in Kansas, and usually is one of the fastest cars in the field, and I know that he's aggressive, and he'll do whatever he can to try to grab himself a lead. And since we're talking about how this race could be relatively boring with potentially a lack of cautions, I expect Elliott to be towards the front early and often, and I think he will be right there at the end. So for me, my first pick is going to be Chase Elliott. The only thing that was annoying was that when I was doing my research last night, they didn't officially have the starting grid up. And as far as I know, I still can't find the starting grid, so I don't really know the exact starting spots.
I don't think they've drawn yet. I'm not sure.
Yes, which is kind of annoying because I do like to see the spots they're going to be starting in. But I expect Elliott to run pretty well here. So for that reason, I'll take Elliott at 6.5 to 1.
All right. Well, Scott, it was like you were looking over my shoulder because I did the same thing. I didn't have Harvick at any better number than 4 to 1. At 475, I might have been tempted a little more, but I put Harvick on the bench this week and went with Chase Elliott as my top pick as well, plus 650. For all the reasons you said, he runs well at Kansas. He's run well lately, and he's in a good position. He runs well on these intermediate tracks. I like Elliott there. He's got 4 top 5s in the last 6 races, including 1 win, and I like the number 9 car to get it done on.
By the way, just a quick question for the starting grid. They randomized the top 12 from last week.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure Elliott came in 12th last week, right?
They randomized the top 12 in owner points.
Okay.
So it's not how they finished; it's the top 12 in owner points. But I think he's in that group as well.
Yeah. So based on that, Elliott should have a decent starting spot, and I think that we both agree he tends to run pretty well in mile-and-a-halves, and he's not afraid to put the pedal to the metal. So,
Nope.
Yep.
Very good. All right, Willie, what do you got? You got Harvick for your first pick. Who is your second pick?
I balanced these two really toughly because I really do like Chase Elliott this week, but I eventually went with Martin Truex Jr. Got the same price at 6.5 to 1 at DraftKings, but he's only got 2 career wins here, but they've came in his last 6 races here, both coming in 2017. But he's also finished no lower than 19th in his last 6 races here, and he's been very successful. He loves these cookie cutters, so to speak, and I don't know. He's I think he'll have a good run this I say this weekend, Thursday.
Okay. All right. Very good. I'll tell you, I don't want to give too much away about my picks, but I looked at Truex as well as he is the best finisher over the last 6 seasons. But all of those good finishes came when he was driving for Furniture Row, when he was driving that 78 car. He really hasn't done much the last 2 times. And I'm not in love with Truex here. So yeah, he kind of jumped off the page as far as past results, but he just hasn't run good the last 2 years. So I'm going to put him on the bench as well. Scotty, what do you got for your second pick?
Well, my second pick, I was looking at Truex, and I saw that number, and I thought that was a little bit too low. But then I found Truex at 9 to 1 on Fox Bet. So my second pick's going to be Truex at 9 to 1 on Fox Bet. I know that you just mentioned he hasn't run that well with Joe Gibbs, and that is true. However, he did come in 6th last year, so it's not like he's been awful. He just had one bad run where he came in 19th. Thing about Truex, that even though he didn't run well or finish well last week, I actually thought he had a pretty good car. And then Kyle Busch just spun him out, and he ended up crashing. But I actually like Truex's car. I'm not sure if he would have contended for the win, but I thought he was going to finish top 10, top 5, assuming that he actually avoided damage, and then Kyle Busch spun him out. But to go through some of the other stats with Truex, he's plus 700 or lower everywhere else. I see him at plus 900 on Fox Bet. He's finished 6th or better in 5 of his last 6 races here. And as Willie touched upon before, he's won this race twice. So for that reason, Truex, even though he had an accident last week, I actually like what him and his crew have been working on lately. And I think that if he can just avoid the wreck, I think he'll be right there at the end once again. And I think 9 to 1 for a guy who normally does really well on these 1.5-mile cookie cutters, I'm going to take that to the bank. So my second pick's going to agree with Willie here, and I got Truex at 9 to 1.
Okay. All right. I got you down.
A question for you, Scott, though. Am I wrong for thinking last week that Truex had a top 10 car?
No. Oh, no. He definitely had it. He definitely had that car.
He was in first for a little while after people started pitting, and I don't know if he would have been able to get that right. He probably would have because all the cautions late. But he was right there. I thought he had a borderline top 5 car.
Yeah, he ran well. Kyle Busch, again, doing his Kyle Busch thing. Certainly didn't help any, but yeah, Truex has been running well. He ran well last week, so it's certainly a possibility. I just there's just a little more value out there that I found with a couple guys. So yeah, I don't hate the Truex pick, but I went with a guy with a little more value. I went with Brad Keselowski. He will not be actually driving the Blue Deuce this week. This week it'll be the white Thank You Truckers number 2 car, but Keselowski has been a staple in the top 10 here at this race lately. He's in his last 6 starts. He does have 1 win, 2 top 5s, and 3 top 10s. He's a consistent driver, and he's been. I think he's ready to break out. He hasn't run fantastic over the last couple of weeks, but I think there's only so much you can keep him down. And I like Brad Keselowski at 10 to 1.
Well, when you say that he hasn't run that well lately, he's finished 9th or better in each of his last 4 races. So I think you're selling him a little bit short there.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying he hasn't really contended for the win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Been a consistent top 10 car, and that's what I think. We've talked about this before. If people that are listening to us, if they took our drivers to finish top 10. You would be way ahead of the game at this point. So I think we've, picking the winner always going to be difficult, as we found out last week. You can lose a race because an idiot like Quinn Hoff decides to pit from the middle lane. So, you never know what's going to happen. That's racing. But as far as picking consistent cars that have run well, this you can certainly do worse than the show with the 3 of us. So.
Yeah, well, the Truex one for me was the somewhat bad beat because of the fact that he had a top 5 car. And it's not every race you get spun out by a teammate.
No.
So, that was my story. But I don't think Truex would have won. I think he would have finished top 5, though. But whatever. It's in the past.
All right, fair enough. All right, and moving on, Willie, who's your long shot this week? Better than 15-1 odds? Who do you got?
I'm going to dip into the Richard Childress Racing pool for the number 8 Chevy, Tyler Reddick, 33-1
Don't
on
hate that.
DraftKings. There's probably a better price out there available, but yeah, he's good at these somewhat, I wouldn't say short tracks, but he's good at these intermediate tracks. He's ran 3 Xfinity races here and never finished lower than 5th, which we don't hold Xfinity results just at the highest standard, but he's also run one Cup Series race here before, and he finished 9th in that one as well. So
he also got second last week, so he's been running pretty well lately.
Right, and he's been up there towards the top of the field pretty consistently this year, I would say, especially for a rookie. So 33-1 is a really good price for him.
I see him at 40-1 on Fox Bet.
That's the 8 car, right?
Yeah, I see him at 40-1.
Trying to figure out why I don't have a paint scheme for him. It goes right from 6 to 9. I don't care for it. I want to see what he was driving this week. Okay, very good. I don't hate that pick at all. I think that's I think he's a guy that definitely could break through with a couple of things going his way and could sneak in there for the win. Scott, who's your long shot?
So I was looking at Reddick for a while. I decided not to do it. I'll tell you, Austin Dillon at 80-1 looked pretty attractive. Not going to lie, but I decided not to pull the trigger on him either. Just the odds of winning back-to-back races, I just couldn't take it. But 80-1's a little bit crazy. For me, I'm going to go to somebody who I used to take a decent amount as my long shot. It's going to be Eric Jones. And I see him at 31-1, which is available on FanDuel in comparison to some other books that have him around 28, give or take. Simply put, Jones has been pretty solid as well on mile and a halves. Finished top 7 each of his last 4 races here. And he also finished 6th last week. Did he really contend for the win? No, but I thought he had a solid car, and I expect him to be towards the front once again. Seems to be a common theme. I like Joe Gibbs. I like Joe Gibbs in these mile and a halves, and they tend to run pretty well. So 31-1. Reddick was very tempting at 40-1. I might have a sprinkle on him maybe off air, but for the sake of the show, Jones at 31-1 I think is a bit too high. He's just been pretty consistent.
Well, it's certainly come down to it as you and I'm not going to pick up much ground on you this week, Scott, because I also have Eric Jones as my long shot for all the reasons you said. I'm a big fan of Eric Jones in this spot. I think another guy that could actually sneak in there for the win. I had him at 25-1. I like that price on Fox Bet. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, like I said, we're not going to pick up a lot of ground on you.
I got scared. You cut the lead to 40, so I had to make sure to cut you off a little bit.
Just mirror my picks. Well, I need Kozlowski to sneak in there because nobody else has Kozlowski. So, Yep, Eric Jones is my 3rd pick. So, all right, there we go. Scott, you're the prop master. Start us off with your first prop.
All right, so this is going to be pretty interesting here because I'm going to start out with a matchup, and it's going to be the long shot that Willy took. It's going to be Reddick over Christopher Bell, and I see that available at -125 on Fox Bet. Simply put, Bell's been a complete non-factor lately, and Reddick has actually been competing for potential wins, especially at mile and a half. Bell, I believe, crashed last week. I think he crashed last week. I know he didn't run well, and Reddick was right there for the last, I'd say, 30 laps, came in second. So I just think that Reddick's the better driver. I think he's in better form. I think that he is just – I'm shocked this line's at -125. I think this line should be closer to -140, if you want my honest opinion, potentially even higher, because I just think that there's a massive talent disparity between these two drivers, especially with the transition to the Cup Series. So for me, I'm going to take Reddick over Bell at -125 on Fox Bet.
All right, very good. I think that is a solid play as well. That is That is a surprising price. I think minus 125 is a hell of a bargain for that.
I thought minus 140 sounded about right. Do you have any thoughts on what you think the price should be?
Yeah, 140 to 150, I think wouldn't even surprise me. Willie, what do you got for your first prop there?
Well, I'm known to hedge my bets some with some of these props, and today is no different. I'm going to take Tyler Reddick top 10 at plus 115. And I touched on Reddick a lot. We're touching on him a lot here as well. But just he's driving so consistently good, and with the results that he's had on this track, just in his 4 races here, I feel like top 10 is definitely a feasible thing for him.
Okay. All right, very good. And that RCR team is maybe have some momentum. Maybe they've figured out a little something after slumping a lot of the year. So yeah, nice to see Childress back in the saddle one more time. My first prop is going to be a matchup as well. I'm going to take that 11 car, the Denny Hamlin, over Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney was everybody's darling last week, ran very well, but Denny Hamlin has been the model of consistency. Arguably the best driver not named Kevin Harvick this season, as he has 4 wins already. And yeah, I'm going to take Denny Hamlin at Ryan Blaney and actually getting a decent price on him at minus 106. Any thoughts on that, boys?
I think the one thing scaring me away from Hamlin, which I feel like might be a reason why none of us took him this week, is based on his, I don't want to say tendency to crash over the last couple of weeks, but he's had issues keeping his car clean. And I'm a little bit concerned of a potential wreck factor. Then again, Blaney's also a wild man, so Blaney could easily just do something dumb and smash into the wall. So
Right.
Kind of goes here and there. I do agree with the price, though, that I think you're getting a good deal on that, especially since Hamlin is the more consistent driver. But that's actually going to take me into one of my props coming up. But I don't know. Something about Blaney lately. He seems to be a very, very streaky driver, where he'll go AWOL for a couple of weeks, then he'll look like a top 3 driver in the entire circuit, and then he'll go AWOL again. And I feel like Blaney's just looked really good over the last couple of weeks.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm passing because Hamlin just seems – I don't want to say he seems to crash because that makes it sound like he hasn't been the second most successful driver all season long. But something about him in the last couple of weeks just has me scratching my head.
Okay, fair enough. That's legit. What do you have for your next prop, Scott?
So I'm going to go back to the well here. I took a break last week, which I'm not even sure if I would have won that. Was Harvick top 4 last week?
Harvick finished 5th, I believe.
Yes, I think he was top 4, but I'm not sure. No, Logano was top 4, actually. Logano finished 3rd.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I actually would have lost that, but I didn't take it. So I took last week off, rightfully so, apparently. And I'm going back to the well. I'm going to be taking 2 drivers here for the top Ford. I'm going to take Harvick top Ford at plus 165. Simply put, he's so consistent here. He's just really good. And I am not a fan of him at 4.75 to 1. But I feel like based on – I think all of us would be shocked if he didn't finish in the top 7. You know, he's just that good here. Plus 165 is a bit high for me. So that's going to be the first one. And the second one, I always take 2 to try to hedge it a little bit. I like Ryan Blaney. And Blaney top 4 is going to be plus 325 on DraftKings. Now, for me, Logano didn't scare me too much on this track. The main person I'm kind of fading is your pick in the non-blue deuce. It's going to be Brad Keselowski. I'm kind of fading him a little bit. Or at least I'm hoping he doesn't do too well. Even though he won this race 2 years ago, or last year, I should say, on May 11th. Overall, though, he has finished he's finished 13th or worse in 3 of his last 5 trips here. So he has been good historically, but lately he has finished out of the top 10 on occasion. And Blaney, even though his numbers here aren't amazing by any means, he just looks like he's just one of the hottest drivers on just running right now. And last week he got screwed over by a questionable decision there. So Blaney seems to always be towards the front over the last, I don't say month, but couple weeks. He won the first 2 stages last week. He's running really well. Plus 325, a little bit too high for me on a driver who's that dialed in.
Okay, very good. Willie, what's your next prop?
Well, I'm going to dive back into the matchups. I haven't given one out, and it seems like probably 4 or 5 races. But I'm going to take Cole Custer at plus 100 over Austin Dillon. And Scott, you mentioned this just a few minutes ago about Austin Dillon, how tough it is to not only win back to back, but be consistently good back to back races. You don't not even just win. You know what I mean? And Custer loves these shorter tracks. Austin Dillon's been just way too spotty for me to put any faith in. So I'll take Cole Custer at even money.
Okay. It's interesting as we see the winners of the last 2 races match up there. And Willie likes Cole Custer to get the better of the other Dillon brother. All right. Very good. For my second prop, I'm going to go with the old head over the youngster. I'm going to take Kurt Busch over Alex Bowman at minus 115. Kurt Busch is obviously a veteran, has run very well at this track. Not necessarily in that number 1 car, but he has experience here. And Alex Bowman just hasn't been running well lately. I'm going to take Kurt Busch, who's been pretty much a top 10 driver here for the last month and a half or so. Been very, very consistent. I'm going to take him to do it once again as he takes care of the 88 car at minus 115.
I was actually looking to that prop as well, decided not to pull the trigger. But Bowman, he's been pretty good here in the past, but recently he's just been awful. And it seems like he's always crashing late in races. But so I don't really know what his story is, but he can't really keep his car clean. So yeah, I think that's a solid play. I'm not going to tail it, but I definitely looked into that for a while. But I found a prop I like a little bit more.
Well, tell us what it is, sir.
This is going to be my last prop. It's going to be a matchup. It's going to be an old guy versus a young guy. And it's going to be Jimmy Johnson over Matt DiBenedetto. DiBenedetto's just been awful here in his entire career. His best finish here is 15th. His average finish is 25.9. Johnson's average finish here is 20.33. And some of you might be thinking, well, Johnson has been so good everywhere for so long. There could be some outliers earlier in his career. But just to be clear, Johnson has finished top 10 here in each of his last 2 trips. So he's always done well at Kansas. He's continued to do well despite the old age. DiBenedetto has been awful here historically. And that's available at minus 110. I'll take that to the bank.
Yep, I think that's a great play. I like that as well. I was when handicapping this race last night. One guy stood out as somebody who has not mastered this track at all, and it is Matt DiBenedetto. He has not done well, and all indications are, by the way he's run the last couple of weeks, probably not going to do well. Although he was running, last week he was running top 10 for a while?
I know 2 weeks ago when Custer won, I believe he came in – did he come in second? No, Truex came in second. I think DiBenedetto came in third in that race.
He was up there, but in spite of that, yeah, I like that play. Just
based on the line, Johnson should easily be minus 130 or higher. DiBenedetto, if your average finish is 25.9, you're against a guy who's been great on this track historically and recently. Jimmy finishing top 10 based on recent history seems accurate. I don't know if DiBenedetto's even going to finish top 20.
Fair enough. All right, Willie, what do you got for your third prop?
My third and final prop, I'm going to dip into the manufacturer props as well as take a trick out of Scott's bag. I'm going to take Chase Elliott, top Chevy, plus 125. We touched on Chase earlier. I don't want to reiterate things too much, but, he's been very successful on this track. He likes these kind of tracks. And I think he's been kind of having, wouldn't you say, kind of outside of winning $1 million in the All-Star race, of course, pretty mediocre results here lately, which leads me to believe that he will probably be towards the top of the field and could possibly even break through for a win this weekend.
The truth is I wanted to take that prop, but 125 was a bit too low for me. I really wanted something along the Harvick plus 165 range, plus 170 range maybe. Did I actually expect to get that number? Of course not. I thought it was going to be around plus 150. But almost even money for him versus the other Chevys, and you had – for example, Dillon, who won last week. Kurt Busch has been good here historically. Jimmy Johnson's been here historically. Chevy's actually run pretty well in these mile and a halves. So I got a little bit scared off of the plus 125. I think Elliott's the best driver of Chevy by far. But I really wanted another 40 cents of value, give or take, for me to go to the window with it.
Okay, very good. And for my third and final prop, I'm going to take a guy. We've been talking a lot about both of these guys. I'm going to take the youngster over the old head. I'm going to take Tyler Reddick over Jimmy Johnson, minus 115. This is, and I got to be honest with you guys. This was kind of a stretch for my third prop. I couldn't really find anything I loved for the third one. I put this one in here, and it's
You could have backed any of ours if you wanted to.
yeah, that's true. But you got to kind of be a little original there. You don't want to come to the table and then go, oh yeah, that's going to be my third one. That's not cool. So I like
now. You just spoiled your plan. You could have got away with it before you just roasted it.
For you meddling kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take Tyler Reddick over Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson hasn't run well here. Hasn't run well for the last few weeks. I'm not sure what's wrong with that program or what's wrong with him.
They keep crashing.
Maybe it's just time for Jimmy to go, and I'm going to count on another mediocre or worse performance from that 48 car. Give me Tyler Reddick in the 8 over the 48 minus 115. Willie, any thoughts on that?
I don't hate that play, but at the same time, I think Jimmy's been catching a ton of bad breaks, which really kind of scares me away from really wanting to fade him in any way.
Yeah, I know he spun out in his own last week, but he also had the pit crew member jumping over for the 2-lap penalty. They got spun out by Keselowski the week before that. A lot of random stuff going on with Jimmy, which I can't really blame him for some of the stuff that's happened. A lot of it just seems to be bad just circumstances.
That pit crew thing was absolutely baffling. All the time these guys spend and the practice and all that goes into that.
They mess up a simple procedure that they've been running for months.
Yeah, to make a mistake like that is just and I know they're used to having more guys over the wall with COVID and everything, but that was kind of to me inexcusable. So
yeah, so I do agree that Jimmy Johnson has gotten older. He's not as good as he once was. I'm not writing him off. I think that he's still been pretty solid. I believe he's right now in possession of the last spot in the chase, I think. So he hasn't been terrible. It just seems like every time he has a bad run, some car bumps into him or something obscure happens, and it just always comes to bite him. So, question though, when you're talking about Reddick over Johnson, do you prefer Reddick over Johnson at, what was the number, minus 115?
Mm-hmm.
Do you prefer that, or do you prefer Reddick over Bell at minus 125? Because I was looking at the same thing you were looking at, and then I saw the Bell prop, and I jumped all over it.
Yeah, I like Reddick over Bell. I'd rather fade Bell than Johnson, obviously.
I was shocked that was minus 125. That's one of those props that jumped off the page for me, where I just didn't. I don't know what DraftKings noticed that I didn't, but Bell has not run well lately, and Reddick has been on fire. So yeah,
I like. I really like your two matchups, Scott. I'm going to be honest with you. I like. And I know it sounds like I'm out of both sides of my mouth, but I like Johnson over DiBenedetto just because of how bad DiBenedetto has been. I think Johnson. I've got him slated for somewhere in the mid-teens.
I was going to say 15th to 18th could easily get it done. I think DiBenedetto, in addition to besides crashing, I do not expect him to finish top 20.
No, I totally agree. I think Reddick is probably going to have a top 15 performance. I think that's going to be good enough to sneak by Jimmy Johnson, but I think Jimmy is going to have plenty for Matt.
Yeah. And I think Bell's also not going to finish top 20. So, we'll see.
He's really a short track guy. This is not really his thing. So, we'll see about that. But I like both of those picks as well.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody got any props left?
I got nothing left.
Willie?
Nah, that's all I got in the stash.
All right, gentlemen, there you go. Not bad. I'll bring it into about 40 minutes here. That's not bad for a NASCAR show. And yeah, we'll be not watching. We'll be watching baseball. No, I'll have probably both.
I'll be switching off.
I'll probably have them both on at the same time. Very exciting time, guys. We have waited. We have been patient. We have told everybody to hang in there. We're going to have sports, and lo and behold, tomorrow we're going to have sports. We're going to have Major League Baseball back for allegedly 60 games. We'll see how that goes. But one thing's for sure, the NASCAR guys will be out there doing their thing, and then they will not run again until a week from Sunday. So going to get a little rare time off there for the drivers. And Willie, thanks for stopping by, man. It's always fun to hear the hot takes of our NASCAR sniper. Very good job as always, Willie. And we'll see if I can't take the lead this week, then maybe you can grab it back from Rachel, as I'm sure, as you would agree with me, losing the Winners and Winers Cup title to someone from Long Island would be very, very inexcusable for a Midwestern boy and a Southern boy.
Well, there's a good amount of drivers coming from up there too. We'll let them slide there, but yeah, I don't think either one of us will complain if you get a little taste of the lead there for just a little bit.
I would take it. I would take it. Thanks very much for joining us, man. Appreciate it, Willie.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. My pleasure.
And Scott, as always, leader of the clubhouse, you are going to suffer the slings and the arrows of those that trail you. That's just part of the deal.
I've only been in the leader in the clubhouse for about 2 weeks, so yeah, I'm still getting used to it. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll see if we can put an end to that. And as Scott puts his Winners and Winers Cup lead on the line here.
Yeah, trash talk to me when we have two of the same of the same drivers.
Not going to be a week I make up a lot of ground. I don't believe. We'll see what happens with. It's basically for me and you, Scott. It's going to come down to.
You got Keselowski against Truex. It's basically
Keselowski against Truex, right? And we'll see how that goes. As always, Scott, thanks for being here.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I know for tomorrow, I already leaked some of the news on Twitter. We're getting our old shows back.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be seeing two of us, from now on. So
I will be and I'll put a caveat on that. You'll be doing your selection tomorrow. I will not be doing a deep three until it'll be up late Thursday night, early Friday morning.
Well, in your defense, it's tough to do a deep three when there's only 2 games on the card.
I could, but it still feels like I'm forcing it a little bit. I could take a total in 2 sides or something, but I'm not going to. I'm going to wait until the full slate of games give me a little something to choose from there as we go back to the deep three. So all of you that are the deep three fans or Scott Selections fan, make sure that you check us out because we're going to be back in the saddle again, as Roy Rogers once sang. So that's Gene Autry. I don't know.
Close enough.
My old Cowboys confused. So anyway, tomorrow, Scott, what are we doing?
We're doing UFC.
Back to talk about UFC, which will be a nice card there on Saturday night. And then, we'll talk a little UFC. What are we doing Friday,
I thought we were going to potentially go into baseball. But
that's right.
We can
honestly,
we can figure it out. I know we still want to do the NBA prop show, which we're going to be doing at some point during the weekend. Yep. But, yeah, for Friday, I know that we were thinking about going into baseball, maybe talk about a couple of matchups here and there. But, we'll play it by ear.
Good. Very good. Very good. All right, gentlemen. Thanks again for being here. And thanks to all of you for joining us here on Today in Sports Betting. Obviously, we couldn't do it without you. We really appreciate everybody that's stopping by. We really appreciate that everybody that has hung with us during this time of COVID-19 when sports were the landscape was a little different, was a little different than what we've been used to during the summer. So we appreciate everybody kind of rolling with the punches, checking us out, and being fans of the show that Scott and I do. We have had a blast doing it. We're still going to be doing it. So make sure you check out Today in Sports Betting each and every day, as well as our selections. And Willie, I know you're going to be maybe doing some baseball picks as well, right?
That's my plan. My plan is to break down the baseball slate each day. Just a daily video, talking a little baseball. America's pastime.
Well, just a question on that. Do you know if that's going to be just actual matchups, or is that going to be more of a daily fantasy thing?
I'm thinking just a matchup thing. I'm not just big into the baseball fantasy because that's a real gamble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that takes a lot of time. For me, a baseball fantasy would be playing with a full stadium. So that's what I
can't really argue with you there.
There you go. All right. So until tomorrow, everybody, appreciate you stopping by. Make sure that you check out winnersandwiners.com for all of our great content, and it's going to be ramping up, guys. We're going to be back in there full swing, so make sure you get yourself back in the habit checking out winnersandwiners.com, as well as our sister site over there at statsalt.com. And for myself, Scott Steen, for Scott Reichel, for Winning Willie Mormon, we appreciate everybody being here and joining us today. Stay safe, stay healthy, everybody. Sports are back, baby, and we could not be more excited, all right? So we look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Until then, we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.